Hello, I'm James Harvey, the professor of music theory at the College of Southern Nevada with 5-Minute Music Theory. And in this video, we're going to cover one of the more tough to deal with non-chord tones, and it's called the suspension. And I'm going to use this as an example. How about let's go from a tonic to a dominant, and I'll just sort of quickly write this tonic chord here. I'm going to suspend here. And we'll go down to a G in the bass. How about let's maintain that G because it's a common tone. Then we'll put a D there. And I'll tie that suspension over even though it doesn't really need to be tied. So a suspension is just really the opposite of a retardation, where it's approached by the same pitch and then it's left down by step. But the thing is, suspensions are much more common than retardations, and they come in different varieties. So we don't just use the letter S as an abbreviation. What we do is we indicate them by writing down the intervals that are above the bass. This one is a 4/3 because the note in parentheses, that C, is a fourth, or it's the equivalent of a fourth, resolving to a third. And this is an example of a type of suspension. We always use the numbers, by the way, to indicate suspensions. You don't just put sus or S. You always have to have two numbers. There's the first one, which is the non-chord tone, and then its resolution. And it's usually going to be one number and then one number just underneath. The three most common types of suspensions are 4/3, 7/6, and 9/8. These are by far the most common types. But there are some other types that get a little bit tricky, and here's where eventually we'll have more and more supplemental materials for this video, because this is actually a rather large topic, believe it or not. There is a suspension that goes 2/1 like this. A 2/1 suspension would usually be happening in the tenor voice because 2 would be a second and then it's resolving to a unison, which is the 1. So we'll put that over here. And then there's also one, and this seems to sort of defy logic at first, that's 2/3. The 2/3 is when the bass is actually the one that is suspending. So let me show you an example of that. Let's go ahead and just put it over here. I'm just going to write it all the way over here. So we'll imagine that the bass is here. I'm not even going to use a key. We're just going to use this as our example here. So the bass is suspending into the next chord. The F would be the chord tone. So there's going to be an A somewhere in that chord. So the way that we refer to this is known as the bass suspension. Remember, the numbers are intervals above the bass. So we would have a second from the G to wherever the A is happening in that chord. And then it's resolving into a third because it's the bass that's moving. And since the bass is moving, the distance between it and the next chord member is getting larger. That's why that's the only one that actually goes up in number instead of the opposite. Then there's one other thing to worry about here. When you're writing suspensions, you're going to be really tempted to write the 6/5 suspension. And the 6/5 should be avoided whenever possible. If you look at these other suspensions here, all of them, the 2/1, 2/3, 4/3, 7/6, 9/8, those are all dissonant intervals that are resolving into consonant intervals. All of them. Even the 4/3, remember, a fourth above the bass in most tonal music is considered dissonant, hence the 6/4 chords being non-functional. 6/5 are two consonances, so there's actually not any resolution that's taking place there from the 6 to the 5. So that's usually not considered a valid type of suspension. So just to quickly clarify and review, suspension is a non-chord tone that's approached by the same pitch, and it suspends, it literally suspends into the next chord and then resolves down by step. And we always label suspensions with their numbers, their figured bass numbers. It's always two numbers. It's the note that is the suspension and then its resolution. And those numbers are indicating the generic intervals above the bass. We wouldn't indicate any sort of accidentals in those. We would always just use the numbers. And pretty much most of the suspensions, if not all the ones that you'll ever see, are the ones that are here up on the screen right now. The 2/1, 2/3, 4/3, 7/6, 9/8. Not really the 6/5. You may every once in a while see a 6/5, but those are our different types of suspensions. It's a non-chord tone that suspends into the next chord through that same pitch, resolves down by step. Thanks.